Dad, who is the biggest loser in American history?
I told you, KP, don't be so hard on yourself. Enjoy some of the wildest chapters
and most glanced over topics here on American Loser.
Oh, come on.
Wow. I love that at the end. That's actually my favorite thing. Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one here, folks. The cause in the building. You heard it, so you guys know what that means. The eagle cawing can only mean
it's time
for American Loser.
There you go.
We got a damn good one here for you. My name is KP Burke. I am a stand-up comic from the great state of New Jersey. Sometimes I go to New York, though, because that's where you get paid more money to do it, or sometimes not at all. Anyway, with me, as always, is my my co-host, the guy I can't do the show without, the man who gives the integrity to this project, my Dilf of a dad.
Now we are in trouble if that's integrity.
Lawrence Patrick Burke, say hello to the people,
Hey,
sir.
how we doing, everybody? Great day today.
So far, so good, man. So far, so good. Here we are. It is this is your final free episode for the month of September. Next month, we ask that you throw us a couple of bucks if you enjoy what we do over here. We got to pay
Patreon exclusive.
Yeah, for as little as $3 a month. $3 a month, you can get a bonus episode. So we give you 3 for free, no matter what. If you boil it down, you're actually getting it's less than $1 an episode, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah, really.
If you want to donate a little more, throw a little more at us. We'll give you $5. If you send me $5, I will send you patches and shit like that we have. We have to pick up on that a little bit, but
yeah.
We have to pay for one particular thing, Dad, because you and I could have conversations about history. We could just call these people individually on the phone and tell them stories.
We could stay home and do it.
We could, but we need microphones run.
Right.
We need visual elements.
So who are you going to call?
None other than.
There it is.
Kahuna Vision.
Kahuna Vision. There it is.
What's up, people?
The magic.
The esteemed Big Kahuna back in the building. How are you, pal?
I'm good, man. I just came back from a trip from California. It was great. It was a fun time. I come back with battle scars, though.
Battle scars, and also met some celebrities.
I did. Well, I met Diplo, which was really cool. And
now, in 10 words or less, explain what a Diplo is to my father.
A recording artist, a musician. Okay. There you go.
There you go. Okay.
Diplo's a good one on that, man. So Kahuna went out west.
All this new jargon here. You bi-coastal, and this is what happens, right?
But honestly, what I come bearing the realization? I come bearing the realization that Los Angeles just might not be for the Kahuna. I do enjoy the city, but I don't know about living there. I do enjoy the state of California, and I did enjoy Los Angeles for the brief time I was there. But living there, I don't know. I don't think it's for me.
Boy.
I am a Jersey boy. And yes. I think I am stuck here.
Yep, he was sitting there because for a while you guys didn't know. Kahuna was telling us he was probably going to leave the show because he was going out to California, and then Kahuna sat there and he said, really, I feel like if I wait 6 more months, Kevin Smith might open up a movie theater here.
There you go.
It worked out, man.
California's coming to Jersey.
That's right.
It's true, though, man. I mean, film is really opening up here in a big, bad way. So it's like
returning here. You know about this show.
I know.
We explained it, but you knew a bunch of that stuff too, man.
Tommy Edison started it. No.
Oh yeah. No, there was a Hoboken used to be, the center of everything too. It's a wild, fun time.
Fort Lee.
And by the way, I mean, also Leonardo, New Jersey happened to be where they filmed the original Clerks, which now has a 3rd movie, which someone's got a little starring role in it,
Starring is being very generous.
And of course, we're also here at a Shared Universe podcast studio. Ming's taking great care of us, man. We always appreciate what he does for us. We like to tease him on the show too, but he is also one of the stars of Clerks 3. And by the way, we got a nice little compliment from one of the, I'm not going to say legitimate stars, but a speaking role star of Clerks 3.
A few more lines of dialogue.
Yeah, Trevor Furman reached out to us. That's Elias from Clerks 2 and 3. Really nice guy, very fun guy. We met him at the Chris Covert show back in Red Bank when they were still filming Clerks 3. And he gave me his email and told me to email my special when it was done. And when the director, the esteemed Christian Cortez, whoever the fuck that is.
Who the fuck is that?
When he finally sent me the final copy, we went ahead and emailed Trevor, who got back to me almost immediately and said, dude, special was great. And, seems like definitely one of those good guys. So we're making good products here All right, Kahuna, we're making good products
Yeah,
here
you don't have
in
to
New Jersey.
drive across the country for that.
Yeah,
Stay
no.
here, bub.
Because I almost moved to, I was thinking about it for a hot second, Austin, Texas. It came into my head.
I will say though, Nashville's a strong contender though. I really enjoyed that city.
Well,
like
Austin,
it, huh?
Texas kind of leads us into today's
It sure does.
episode.
Now, Austin, Texas is a little different than El Paso, Texas, but
Just a bit.
here's a good one for you here, Cahoons.
Don't mess with Texas.
In 1995, in El Paso, Texas, two parties engaged one another in a confrontation at an old cemetery.
Wait a minute. What was the year?
1995.
1995.
That's correct. Clerks is already out. Mallrats is probably out too.
And a young Kahuna was just born.
Baby Cahoons.
And these two parties are walking towards one another in El Paso, Texas, about to have a stare-down confrontation in an old cemetery. He's right. Now, if that sounds like a good opening to a Western cowboy flick, you are right. However, this was not a group of gunfighters ready to fight. This was a group ready to fight over the body of a gunfighter.
What?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the gunfighter's remains were buried in El Paso for over a century since his murder. One party sought to disinter the body and rebury it in Nixon, Texas. They argued that the body of the gunfighter, the deceased gunfighter, mind you, deserved to be buried.
No, I hope
in
he
his
was deceased.
hometown.
If he was
Exactly.
buried.
I don't know why I stumbled over that one.
Yeah.
But they wanted to rebury him in his hometown, and that they were saying that this party that wanted to pretty much dig up the body and bring it to this other part of Texas known as Nixon, Texas, that they were going to be acting on behalf of the gunfighter's surviving great-grandchildren. It's what the family wants.
That's right.
The other party, local to El Paso, said, you are not disinterring and removing this body. It stays here in El Paso. It's part of our history, blah, blah, blah. Both parties stared one another down and prepared to draw up legal documents solidifying their claim. But then both groups claimed that the other was merely acting out of interest in the idea that tourism that would be surrounding this burial site that had already happened and would continue to do so.
Graves are big business, KP.
It
That's
is.
it.
It's very true. You ever go down to St. Augustine, Florida, you will see one of the oldest cemeteries in the entire United States, and it's still pretty cool.
Who else is going to cater to the Goths, man? Come on.
The Goths. Well, this body now,
Tourism
the Goth tourism thing. Yeah, we like to write poetry. The body will wind up remaining in El Paso, Texas. The body in question belongs to one of the wildest men in the American West. He's part scoundrel, part rebel adventurer, and all loser. Welcome, folks, to the story of John Wesley Hardin. So,
J.W. Hardin.
now, off the top of your head, had you heard of this guy beforehand, Dad?
I've heard the name, but really didn't have any kind of details into his background. But he's always listed as one of the badasses of the Old West. So, yeah, I've heard the name, but that's
His
about
reputation
as
is
far as
pretty
I went.
wild. Did he kill 40 men? Did he kill 50? Well, if you ever wanted to know how much of a cold-blooded killer he was, you could have just asked him.
Yeah, he'd be glad to tell you.
He loved to talk about himself. And by the way, Kahuna, this guy falls into the category of there's so many things about him that are 100% true, and then there's so many things that are 100% bullshit. And you're like, why is he bullshitting when the true stuff is wilder than the stuff he's making up? And he's kind of so out of this world here, man. He loves to talk about himself, and all the stuff that you can't prove is kind of out of this world. Here, I'll tell you what, we're going to get right into it. There are confirmed John Wesley Hardin killings. So this guy absolutely was a killer out in the Old West.
Yeah, the witnesses in the whole nine. That we've got viable witnesses to substantiate his claims.
There's a few confirmed kills.
Yeah,
And he likes to spin a couple of yarns here and there, maybe trying to justify one of them, or maybe coming up with another one where he's kind of got I know I won't say who, but my father knows there's members of our family that every now you always hear about, like, oh yeah, and I kicked the shit out of this guy. He got right back in his car and left. But those are confirmed stories from John Wesley Hardin. But if you asked him, the total amount, according to some claims, is that he killed as many as 50 men. But if you ask John Wesley Hardin, well, they all deserved it. Exact quote. He didn't ever kill a single man that ever didn't deserve it, even the guy that he shot for snoring.
he deserved to die.
I want to repeat that. Even the guy he shot for snoring. So hard to believe that all of this comes from the literal son of a preacher man.
That's it.
Uh,
He had good family values in his upbringing.
And he was a smart guy too. This is not a back. This isn't what we would call a piney in New Jersey.
Yeah, he's not a bumpkin.
Yeah, this is not a guy who's looking for a toofasis.
That's right. I only need a toothbrush.
Exactly. But John Wesley Hardin will be born, like you said, Dad, in 1853 in Texas. His father is a prominent Methodist preacher in Texas, and his mother was, as described by John himself, highly cultured. So these are not the backwoods country bumpkin simpleton like folks here. Hardin would actually be raised in the church, where he would also receive his education. The Hardins were from a prominent Southern family with relatives in positions of influence in places like North Carolina. Therefore, they considered themselves Southerners. Now, keep in mind, this is Texas. You're talking Civil War era over here. Texas kind of a disputed territory. Maybe it's its own republic. Maybe some people haven't really bought in the idea of a federal government yet. Maybe there's the idea that they're joining up with this Confederacy thing that's happening. So their allegiances are going to be more towards the East Coast, specifically out of North Carolina, where a lot of the Hardin family was, again, holding positions of influence.
Yeah, I mean, elected officials, representatives.
Exactly.
Yep.
Now, again, that's why they're going to consider themselves more Southerners than Texans, which will explain why at age 9, John Wesley Hardin will attempt to run away to join the Confederacy.
I thought you were going to say that he got his first confirmed kill.
Not long after.
Oh, you got to be kidding!
He is only 9, but give him time. Give him a year or so. No, but he was born in 1853, so we're pre-Civil War. But now at the tender age of 9, he wants to join up with the Confederates and fight for Dixie.
Now, it does remind me of something, too, because I believe at age 9, I also attempted to run away, and my plan was to defeat Mexico at the Alamo. I was
Is that when we packed your lunch with a rope at?
Well, I had that. I had my little musket that we got from Treasure Island at Disney World, But now here's what's interesting. John is going to, like I said, he's going to attempt to run away at age 9 to join the Confederacy. And it's interesting because a lot of people would be terrified of that. When I was a 9-year-old kid, I think I probably thought I was a badass some days, and then I fell off a swing too hard and realized not quite the case yet.
Yeah.
There you go.
But violence is not going to be something that this guy ever shies away from. Is that fair to say, Dad?
Yeah, I think he was not afraid of mixing it up with folks for sure.
Well, funny. It's an interesting way to put it. Now, in 1867, the Civil War is going on at this point, if I'm doing my numbers right. No,
it's over.
60. Oh, okay. Well, depending on who you're talking to, Larry Burke,
well, yeah.
it's still very much going on today.
You mean the War of Northern Aggression?
It depends on who you ask.
It sure does, man. It sure does. There's a lot of people out there who think they're in the Civil War right now against. We're part of the resistance.
Oh, God.
Yeah. We're not a political show, though. We're a history show with a comedy problem.
The man shits taglines. You wonder why we keep him around?
That was golden.
That
was actually great. Shit.
Between that and my mother supplying curtains for this show,
there you go.
I really don't do much around here, folks. But John Wesley Hardin is an interesting guy. And 1867, during a confrontation with a fellow student in which the two boys' dispute will wind up in a knife fight. A knife fight. Okay, John Wesley Hardin will nearly kill his opponent and wind up getting expelled from the school his father taught at. So,
yeah, his father was very much involved in the school that he attended. He had a bunch of brothers and sisters as well. So the whole Hardin family was getting their book learning, getting their schooling at this institution of higher knowledge.
And a religious aspect, too. So you would think that would be love thy neighbor. And Kahuna, I will ask you to bring up what we're going to refer to as nightmare fuel.
Here we go.
For a picture of young John Wesley Hardin.
Yeah, that's a handsome lad.
Ladies, we know you love the bad boys, all right? Look at him. Look at that jawline. He's got
face only a mother could love.
He's got good hair on him. You know what I mean?
It's all in the eyes.
Absolutely. That's a man that will put a dead animal in front of your house to let you know that he's serious about you.
He loves
you.
So he brings trophies to your doorstep.
He sure does. Now, again, he gets kicked out of school over here. His dreams of fighting in the Civil War don't come true, but after one fateful wrestling match, his entire life would be a bit of a one-man war. This will bring us up to November of 1868. And John's going to challenge his uncle's former slave to a wrestling match. He would win the match, but claims that shortly thereafter, the former slave attacked him. Now,
his opponent in the wrestling match came back for little vengeance.
Yeah, you win the wrestling match, but he was chasing him with a stick on horseback, I believe.
You whoop him, but that was in wrestling. Now
Exactly.
we're going to go at it with sticks and guns and clubs.
It's like Apollo Creed coming back for I'm ready for round 2. But it's pretty interesting here. Now we're going to say a phrase that is going to be recurring throughout the show. And Dad, I think you're ready for it. We're ready. We'll do some air quotes. Ready?
Okay.
According to Hardin.
It's right. That's right.
So,
and we've had quite a few losers through the various episodes that the only intel we have on them is what they reported themselves in their own autobiography or whatever. So,
oh yeah, Calamity Jane.
Yeah.
And I was the prom queen too. I don't know if you knew.
Right.
Really? But of course, you are right. There's a lot of people that make up their own bullshit here. Unfortunately, the most tragic one is a guy whose reputation became bullshit because his mortal enemy, the man who hated him the most, got to write his obituary for him. We will not say the name of that person.
No?
Those are devotees. We'll know. It was a Cousin
Crows
Kelly
will
episode.
come get you.
That's right.
Nevermore.
Nevermore.
Nevermore. Sorry.
Never mind.
He would win the match, like we said here, but now he's going to get attacked afterwards, according to Hardin. And John Wesley Hardin will fire 5 shots at his would-be attacker. And now the attacker, unfortunately, doesn't die right away. He dies about 3 days later. And according to Hardin, again, we're get ready to be sick of that line here. According to Hardin, he actually is going to reach out and try to get help, medical aid for the guy. And the poor guy winds up dying of his wounds about 3 days later. So
Yeah, I mean, he put 5 shots into him. The least he could do was
exactly
try to get medical help for him.
Yeah. But John has now finally killed somebody, and he would be forced to go into hiding on account of advice from his father. The fear being that Hardin wouldn't get a fair trial. Consider this kind of like a 1800s version of a hate crime, if you will, that they were saying that, you know, it's going to look like that this boy killed this former slave, blah, 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 that he had a gun and the slave did, a former slave. I kind of keep saying that. This is a freedman, technically.
Right.
I'm about to say.
It's 1868,
Yeah.
so the Civil War is over at this point. But
Allegedly.
some feel that the Civil War is over, but we're in the midst of Reconstruction, which is going to play a role in a little bit too with the life of Mr. Hardin.
Well, I've heard it said pretty often is that if you accept, and this is always an interesting way of looking at history, if you accept that the true people, when you read history, especially when I did as a kid, you would read about a war, then you would skip to the next war, then you would skip to the next war.
Right.
And you would skip over Reconstruction because you're like, it's just between wars. When you really look at it, that is probably the most important part of our entire country's history.
There's a huge shift during Reconstruction.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah. And it barely gets mentioned. That's usually like it's coming up on your finals for your fall semester. So they're like, we're going to talk about it a little bit, but it's not going to be on the final, guys. Don't worry. Just do that. Go have Thanksgiving with your families. We come back. You know, it's the spring. We'll start with World War I. All right.
There you go. When we come back, we'll do the Spanish-American War.
So now John Wesley Hardin will begin his life outside the law. He will remain outside the law for almost the rest of his entire life. There's a couple instances towards the end over there that get pretty interesting. But after a few days of hiding, 3 Union officers approached his hideout with the intent of chasing down John Wesley Hardin. Hardin instead would face down his would-be captors and, by his own words, and in other words,
That's right.
according to Hardin,
Another quote.
waylaid them with double-barrel shotgun blasts in his cap revolver. Just like that, John Wesley Hardin was now on the run for not 1, not 2, nor 3.
4.
4 killings.
4.
4 killings. And his story is
People
spreading.
who deserved it.
That's right.
Let's not forget.
Yeah.
Allegedly deserved it.
According to Hardin, deserved it.
Yeah, these 3 Union soldiers were chasing after him because he was a wanted man. But so they needed killing.
Now, depending on what stories you tell and what vantage point you take, you can make this guy a true bastard, or you can make him kind of a hero. And that's the problem with him. This is a conflicted legacy over here, because there's going to be certain things. We're going to pull it out at the end here, Dad. I think you already know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
There's a certain, we mentioned it in the episode too, in the notes. I'm sure you saw it. One of the great quotes of all time in all movies ever. And from possibly my favorite movie ever. While a fugitive from justice, Hardin would pull off some wild stuff, okay? And his story is starting to spread, and there's even support among the locals of Texas who didn't love their new Union overlords from this federal government headed up by this Andrew Johnson fella, and nor did they really I thought this was interesting and worth noting. I don't know if you found anything on this, Dad, but there was a large percentage
Yep.
of the state police in Texas were actually African American.
Yeah, and I'll get into that a little bit later with Mr. Hardin too. But yeah, we're again.
Well, why can't we talk about it now?
Well,
No, I'm just
all right.
I think it fits the story better a little bit.
we can jump into that right now. But
Nah.
no, I mean the Civil War is over, and the defeated Confederates are now returning back to Texas. Texas was never known for being a peaceful place to start with. I mean, it was won by various wars, either wars with the Comanches, with the Mexicans, or whatever. But anyhow, these returning Confederates are now coming back to Texas. Their homes have been left unattended to, if you will, for the last 4 or 5 years of the war, kind of a thing. So things are just in a shambles about where is the property lines, who owns what. I mean, and the whole economy is in the shitter for sure. And then along comes the end of the Civil War, and then on June 19th, 1865, General Gordon Granger arrives in Galveston, Texas, with a number of Union soldiers, because now we're in Reconstruction. The government, if you will, is a military government. The whole South is under federal troop rule, if you will. And he comes ashore in Galveston, Texas, and declares that, Mr. Lincoln, with the Emancipation Proclamation, freed all the slaves. Texas really didn't quite get the memo on that, nor willing to accept that memo.
Did he?
Nah,
Did he? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Can I tell you guys one of my favorite jokes I've ever heard? And the comedian, I won't say the comedian's name because I don't want to give the bit away, but essentially what he alludes to is he goes, because he was from Texas, it was also a black fella, and it's a great quote, but he goes, yeah, celebrating Juneteenth, as you're about to talk about, Dad. He goes, Juneteenth, because the news arrived on colored people time.
God damn it.
And you said, like, you didn't want to. Oh, God.
Oh, that's a good one.
Anybody who wants to DM me, I'll tell you what comic it was. He's great. I still think I am a big fan of his to this day, but he was one of my Jacksonville guys, but he was from Houston originally. So anyway, continue on Juneteenth, good sir, which I also had a joke about.
Yeah, so Juneteenth, June 19th, 1865 is when the slaves of Texas, if you will, finally get word that, they've been freed, and it's now being forced. Their freedom is being forced upon them by federal troops. So the Texas Confederates, if you will, are now being forced into that issue. And who's doing a lot of the enforcing is black colored troops from Granger's unit. That there's both black and white troops that are now enforcing the rules. So, these various slave owners are now taking orders from the same black troops, as many former slaves within these black troops and stuff. So it's a very volatile situation here with. There is no law. Things are just going wild, and it's the only rule is the rule of the gun, if you will. That these various groups are being put together to try to enforce their own way of law, if you will. But
it's sad that you know exactly what groups we're talking about too.
We're getting to
Reconstruction has some of the darkest chapters in American history ever.
Yep.
Ever. So anytime somebody's complaining about like how things are just crazy nowadays, I'm like, yeah, come on, we're doing pretty good. Okay,
We're doing all right. Yeah, compared to what we've been through already.
Put yourself into construction era, and then it's like, okay, so I don't have to worry about, there's no raids coming through my house every couple of minutes.
Right.
Churches aren't being burnt with people inside of them. But that is true, and that's got to be a wild juxtaposition, just of everything going on out there too. Because again, anytime you try to bring law to Texas, it doesn't go well. All right, just not something that they're into. Did you have anything else you wanted to say on that?
No, I'll get back to that in a little bit. But yeah, we'll keep going with John Wesley here.
Well, John Wesley is in Texas, of course, where there is just nothing but chaos, and sometimes it's pretty great chaos. But while a fugitive from justice, sometimes true, sometimes just the blusterings of a madman. These stunts and instances include, but are not limited to, these are some of the things he got up to during his adventures, all right? These are like if you're making a movie, Kahuna, these would be the things in like the montage of him out on the living out on the road, just being an outlaw.
Yeah.
Yeah. They'll be the shooting a man's eye out of his own head in order to win a bottle of whiskey. There will be killing many Union soldiers.
I can confirm there's a better way to go about it. You don't have to shoot a guy's eye out.
Yeah.
But I do bet that the other way did look 100% cool.
Instead of mud in your eye, there's lead in your eye. And
He also kills several Union soldiers that will be sent after him. He'll also kill and murder a man at a circus during a disagreement they had. You know, I mean, it's
hey,
He didn't actually make that quarter disappear.
exactly.
Fucking carnies.
Yeah,
call your attention to the center ring.
Hey, did you steal my peanuts? No, the elephant took them. Oh, really? He also, during this time, Dad,
Yeah.
taught school.
What?
Yes.
Wait a minute. This
You
dude
know-
was a teacher?
Yeah. Well, keep in mind, he grew up in an educated family. He was an educated man. You know, his father was a teacher. His mother was highly cultured. So John Wesley Hardin at night is shooting people's eyes out for bottles of whiskey, getting into knife fights at circuses. And then by day teaches school. You know, like when they make a big thing about like they find a teacher's Instagram and she's got like sexy photos of her or something like that.
Yeah, mind your own business
What-
vision.
What a welcome change that is compared to, I'm pretty sure I saw Mr. Hardin. I think
I
Mr.
shot a
Hardin.
man's eye out last night. Yeah. When I first read that too, my thought was like, yeah, there's some proponents today that are saying, well, maybe we should arm the teachers to prevent a lot of these school shootings. So yeah, that'd be cool. Have a guy like John Wesley Hardin packing to protect your kids.
Just say we tried it once, it didn't work out. And here's my
my
favorite.
God.
This one's my favorite story here. You know, if you just picture a little kid coming home from school, how was school day? Well, it was good. I think I saw Mr. Hardin. He was escorting a hooker home to her house, and then her pimp showed up and demanded that Mr. Hardin pay him money for the hooker, and so Mr. Hardin threw the money on the ground, and then when the pimp went to grab the money, Mr. Hardin shot the man and said, "I stopped him from robbing me."
True story.
100% true.
Yeah, and that one, I think that particular story was confirmed by
It was.
eyewitnesses.
Yeah.
That wasn't a Hardin, fairy tale kind of a thing. That was actually a true incident in the life of Mr. John Wesley Hardin.
Now, there's also a story, because you're saying true incident. This is the one we're going to have to figure out where you want to draw the line on what you want to believe. But we do adhere to, on this show, the liberty valance principle, which means when in doubt, print the legend. So
Right.
what seems to be verified is that John Wesley Hardin was playing poker against a man named Bradley, last name Bradley, in 1870. And Hardin was winning every hand to the point where this fellow named Bradley threatened him. I believe he said he was going to cut his liver out in front of him. Now, the unarmed John Wesley Hardin will leave the game, but according to Hardin,
Oh, God.
Yeah, you're talking about a sore loser.
according to Hardin, later Bradley comes after him. Always seems to work out as self-defense for Hardin, but this one has witnesses, mind you, and they all confirm the following things. Hardin returned fire. Okay, so a shot was fired at him first, and Hardin returned fire with both of his pistols. He fired one shot from both pistols. One shot will hit Bradley in the head. The other will hit Bradley squarely in the chest. That's a double tap right there. That's enough to kill a zombie. All right, that's a right.
Yeah, head shot and a heart shot.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's how you make
He
sure.
went walking away.
No chance on that one.
If you do, that's a bigger problem.
Well, now both shots here. So they also noted, by the way, that John Wesley Hardin was exceptionally fast on the draw. And the reason being is because he practiced every single day, because he realized that was going to be a thing that was going to keep him alive longer, was being fast on the draw. And he also did something kind of unique for his time here. He had his holsters sewn into his vest, so he could be the first one to. He'd actually. This is one of the cool iconic things here. How many times have you seen this in a movie, Kahuna, where or a video game or anything like that, where somebody just draws out both pistols like that?
Yeah, from the side.
Yep, they cross their arms to then pull both guns out. It's like almost a cliche at this point.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the early documented cases of it happening.
So he's the cliche starter.
He's got some stuff to him. There's some panache to his style, which is why we're going to pick up later on that it becomes a lot of things about his life get borrowed for other characters from movie history.
I was about to say he's got this weird Judge Dredd thing going on here, where he's like, "All right, you did it. You're guilty in my book." But like he said, he only kills people who he thinks deserve it.
He's really not Judge Dredd. He's Lawyer Dredd, where he goes, "Oh, that's clearly self-defense, isn't it? You guys saw it right here.
Right.
Better call Saul."
I'd love to see that difference in the comic book. I'd love to see Judge Dredd and then Lawyer Dredd.
Well, now after the shooting of Bradley, here's what we can't confirm. Hardin claims that one of the, of the 15-man posse, that's 15 people sent after John Wesley Hardin, 15-man posse sent after him, he captures and disarms 2 of them. Hardin sent the disarmed men on their way back to join up with the posse.
With the rest of the posse, yeah.
He goes, "You guys go join up with the rest of them. You guys wait for me to come back through there. You hear? Like we'll settle this again. Like, all right, good fight, guys. We'll do this again in a couple of weeks. See you around. Yeah, nice try."
I'll be back.
But Hardin is a hard man to capture until 1871, Dad, when he gets arrested for the murder of the Waco City Marshal, Waco, Texas. Definitely.
Now, I just want to put a little timeline on this. He had his first wrestling match in 1868.
3 years.
So now
all this in 3 years.
Now he's the Hardin guy in 1871. So
one wrestling match, and then he starts waylaying Union soldiers.
How many people later?
Oh my God! Good point. Good point on that one. Now it's interesting too here because this Waco City Marshal that is murdered is the reason why John Wesley Hardin is now finally behind bars, but it's for a crime that he claims he didn't commit, which is ironic on several levels. Number one, he possibly didn't actually kill the marshal and was just the assumed suspect due to his penchant for violence and his braggadocious ways. He liked to talk, "Oh, yeah, I tell you about the marshal I killed over in Waco. Oh, that was you? You're under arrest. Oh, come on, man.
I was only fooling."
Yeah. Or did he kill the marshal and now just sees how deep a shit he's in? "Oh, that wasn't me. No, you guys got the wrong guy. I swear." So Hardin is going to be transferred to Waco, Texas, very important place in American history. Waco, Texas is going to be where he's going to wind up being transferred to face trial and possibly the gallows. And much like other Western legends, and also last week's loser, pirate Joshua Huddy, Hardin,
Jersey's own Joshua Huddy.
I won't go into too many details. We'll stay on track. I'm doing good here. Hardin is, yet again, like all those other guys we mentioned before, able to escape. He's able to do so because while he's being held in the regular jail, one of the other people in the cell with him was able to get their hands on a pistol that they then sold to John Wesley Hardin. So now he's hiding this pistol on him before his prisoner transfer. He's hiding it somewhere on his persons. Okay. Now I have no clue where that might be, Kahuna.
Yeah, really.
But I picture
Gee, I wonder where. Wink, wink.
I wonder if Christopher Walken had to come in and give the pistol to somebody years later. This gold revolver, it was your father's.
The term packing has a whole new connotation.
Oh no!
But
that was good.
Now his captors are, by the way, less than cordial too here.
Yeah.
And again, here comes the recurring phase. According to Hardin, they were beating him regularly and forced him to ride his horse without a saddle, which is going to be very uncomfortable, especially if you have a gun hidden up your ass like he might have.
Oh my God!
Who knows where it was hidden? But
yeah, up his ass,
hidden on his person.
It was hidden. Okay,
even it's in your
exactly. Yeah. So this was not a concealed carry. This was wherever the gun was going to lay.
You got to remember too. I mean, the supposed law enforcement officials aren't exactly by today's standard the same thing. It's just whoever was willing to carry a gun and go out after these guys. Whether it's,
as the great Uncle Paulie said, it was bastards hunting bastards.
That's it.
So, but they would again, these people who did capture John Wesley Hardin, they're beating him up a little bit. He's this young man. Okay, he's a good looking boy, like we just saw in that picture over there. And it's becoming how do I say this? It's becoming a recurring motif of him that he's also displaying a decent amount of brains here. He decides he's going to fake crying during one of the beatings. He's crying now, right?
Yeah, well, this is on his way to Waco to face
exactly.
trial.
Oh God!
And keep in mind, he's a young man here. So for you to finally break a kid, I mean, there were a lot of kids in boot camp that broke down and cried. I mean, just do what I did. Just cry like a man into your pillow at night while you read letters. You know what I mean? But anyway, Hardin fakes crying here, and now the one law enforcement agent, if you will, he's out getting, I believe he's collecting stuff for the horses. And then the other one is beating him up, and he's sitting there. Pretty much, you can imagine, he's calling him a pussy, he's saying everything bad. Oh, look at you, we broke you. Where's the big badass I thought was coming around here? And all while he's doing that, Hardin now is able to hide amongst the horses, if you will, and then produces the revolver that he purchased all the way back in jail.
Right.
Shoots this guy dead, escapes on foot. Okay, so he's able to get out of there. He escapes. Now, he also claims that after he had escaped that initial capture, if you will, that 3 more men will capture him during his escape. But once they realized that they had now captured the wanted John Wesley Hardin, they were going to be entitled to a pretty significant reward. So what do you do when you have something to celebrate, Dad? You just hit the lottery. You can't cash in just yet.
Yeah,
You're out on the trail with the boys.
Gotta sit back and knock back a few.
Yeah, they went ahead and got drunk. So the people that just captured him got drunk, and they got a little too drunk, and they passed out drunk. And what does John Wesley Hardin do, Kahuna? What do you think?
He decides it's time to make a hasty retreat and exit.
Yeah, he's I'm going to go, but before I do, I'm going to disarm each one of you and kill you in your sleep, or your drunken stupor, I should say.
I hate to ask.
Go ahead.
But when you say disarm, do you actually mean like disarm?
Oh no!
Oh, okay.
He takes their weapons off.
Okay, because I would not be surprised.
He's got there's some bloody madness to him over here.
Well, he started in a knife fight.
It's true.
So that's a good question.
Now, again, he kills them with their own weapons, mind you. That's what we mean by disarm them. So that's a good edit on that one here. So it's interesting because Hardin will remain on the run, but he did seem to try his hand at the legitimate cowboy trade, actually being a cattle rustler and a cowboy per se. And he did this with a couple of cousins of his that he met up with. And Hardin he was showing some signs of being a professional with this because they made him trail boss pretty quickly. He displayed a knack for it almost immediately. And he was moving cattle up from Texas into Kansas, which is, interesting.
That's where the cattle drives ended at the railroad line in Kansas to take the beef back east. But yeah,
got to get up to Kansas, and that's why. And then also you're going to get things over to you're going to get things over to St. Louis, and you're going to get things over to Kansas City. So Missouri, they're known for doing a pretty good steak.
Yep, that's it.
So let's get me out there, guys. There's some improvs out there. Ask about me, please. If you like this show, if you like my comedy, ask about clubs. All right, trying to go full time again, but anyway, I make this point to make that one. He's going to go up to Kansas because that's where the cattle drive is. But you know where there's nothing up there for him? There's no heat. There's no law enforcement hunting him down in Kansas yet.
You're going to get out of Texas for a while and just kind of maybe cool your heels on a cattle drive. Get lost on a cattle drive someplace.
Yeah,
it's like with your cousin, so you got family with you,
and you're making money.
La familia.
But of course, he's going to go up to Kansas. He's out of Texas where the trouble's not going to catch up with him. But this is John Wesley Hardin we're talking about here, Dad. All right. What's a chapter in his life without assaulting one of the cattle hands with a pistol whip? You know what I mean? It's John Wesley Hardin, Dad. What's it to him if he's got to kill 3 Mexicans in a game of 3-card Monte?
Yeah, I don't know how you. Well, yeah, I don't know.
He got angry enough that it happened.
He's got anger management issues, for sure. But I guess some of the Mexicans did too, and they didn't quite take lightly to losing in cards.
Well, the badass. There's a lot of tough Mexican cowboys here, but I believe it's, and I should ask either Rachel Torres or Lynette Palladino need to tell me how to say this word. Okay. But I believe it's vaqueros.
Vaqueros.
Vaqueros, yeah. Mexican vaqueros. And we're probably butchering it. I'm sorry. The room is full of just a couple of dumb kids from Jersey. Okay. We're very sorry here. You got a shop teacher, a Navy vet who tells dick jokes, and the puppet master. Okay.
Proudly.
Pay no attention to the man behind the fence is the mighty Kahuna.
So these vaqueros, they have really cool style, by the way. That's kind of like that old school. They almost dress like bullfighters when they're on horseback. It's a really cool look. You see it in a lot of the great old Western movies and stuff like that. And it's still something that's very much appreciated in Mexican culture to this day. They are the Spanish influenced style of cowboys or cattle rustlers. Also, they're very, very, very tough dudes. And one of them managed to cross Hardin's path and fires a shot in his direction mid cattle drive because the two cattle herds were mixing up into one another. And this vaquero, who had a problem with John Wesley Hardin, fired a shot at him. So we all know that John's going to shoot back. His pistol doesn't fire at first, but after a couple of quick MacGyver type moves, Hardin is able to shoot the vaquero in the thigh. All right. Now, can you just imagine here? You're out on the cattle trail, almost like the movie Open Range. Great movie. Duvall, Costner, great flick. That they're going to have an issue where now these two cattle parties, if you will, are going to have to fight each other over their property because there's no law out there to come settle this beef for them. Luckily, Cooler had
settled this beef.
Pun intended. Yeah. I'm glad we're not the only ones that spotted that one. That was good.
Yeah, but
beyond Kahuna Vision. High five.
He's reaching out to you, sir.
A lot of these cattle herds are trying to move up to Kansas to the railhead in Kansas to ship the beef elsewhere. So if you're all heading to the same point, there's a lot of emerging or melding of some of these herds. So they meet up with this Mexican trail gang, if you will. So and they're mixing it up. He fires a shot. Hardin takes exception to people firing shots at him, so he goes after him. What I had read that the weapon, the revolver that Hardin had, was some old and very loose cylinder kind of a thing. So he actually had to grab a hold of the cylinder with his left hand while he's pulling the trigger with his right hand,
turning into a little tiny rifle. Yeah.
So he got the job done, though.
Well, it shoots this vaquero in the thigh here, and the reason that John Wesley Hardin is pissed is because this shot fired by the Mexican cowboy, the vaquero, actually puts a hole in his hat. And
freaking Mexican put a hole in my hat.
It's my favorite hat.
That's right. My only
I'm surprised
hat.
He wasn't low-key impressed by that, like in some sick way. He's like, damn, all right, someone got a shot on me.
Well, it made an impression on him, Kahuna.
Are you
I'll
serious?
say that much because the two camps of cattle rustlers are here, are the cowboys, if you will, these vaqueros and then these American cowboys. They're about to break out into a mini cattle war until luckily cooler heads prevail and a truce is declared. But John Wesley Hardin is still pissed. It's my favorite hat. God damn it. It's my favorite hat. So
my only hat.
His pistol obviously is giving him a hard time here. So he goes, "Hey, can I borrow your pistol real quick?" to one of the guys in his group. And he goes, "Sure. You're not going to go kill 4 Mexicans with it, are you?" No. So he borrows a pistol from another member of his party and goes off to shoot the Mexican cowboy in the head. Okay, you shoot me in the hat, I'm shooting you in the head. Kills him dead. He succeeds. But unfortunately, that will now result in the truce going to hell in a handbasket, and John Wesley Hardin is in the middle of a gunfight. Now, according to Hardin,
there you go.
5 Mexicans are killed in this gunfight, 4 by him. Okay? However, confirmed sources say only 3 bodies were ever found. So,
yeah, but again, Kev, you got to remember, they shot a Texan, John Wesley Hardin. They shot at his hat. I mean, you don't go messing with somebody's cowboy hat. I mean, that's just bad juju to be doing shit like that.
Yeah,
so
no.
He had to go after him to save his honor as a Texan. To shoot me in the hat.
Yeah, that one's one where it was just like, it's not. It would probably make a great scene in a movie, but it would not be a sympathetic scene because if you notice what they always do, and we'll talk about this at the very end here too. The guy that I picked up on a lot of, and I'm sure the filmmaker and star of the movie we will reveal here in a minute. Definitely pulled a lot of things from the legend of John Wesley Hardin, but they always in Hollywood have to give you some sort of it's that Han shot first thing. Hilariously enough, we have the Han Solo pistol here that Ming bought.
Yep.
But it's also a vibrator too. I don't know if you guys knew that. But
have to talk to Ming about that.
But they say Han shot first in order to make it so that Han Solo doesn't look like he killed this guy first. And it's a whole controversial story within the Star Wars universe. John Wesley Hardin did not fire first, but he did fire last. Okay, and he definitely escalated the situation after cooler heads had prevailed. Now Hardin will admit to at least 3 more killings on this cattle drive. 2 of them being Native Americans, one that he shot after firing an arrow at them, and another one after demanding a tax on the cattle they were bringing through territory. And then he will also actually kill another one being a Mexican cattle rustler who was accused of killing another trail boss on another drive. And by the way, that's the kind of research that John Wesley Hardin's doing. He's saying, I don't need to find out or confirm these sources. I heard he killed a cattle boss over there. We're going to go settle that. Sure. So all in all, it was a pretty great trip. But here's a fun little Game of Thrones moment for you now, folks. All right. One of my favorite things on Game of Thrones was, and they played with this very well, when two characters that had different storylines would actually share the screen for the first time on the show. It was a very fun part of the show to watch for a while. And here's kind of a fun moment here for you, because I know, and there's a little bit of a loserception in here too, because we did mention Calamity Jane earlier, who she's also a bullshit artist. And unfortunately, the guy we're about to talk about is also a little bit of a bullshit artist. And then we've already covered that John Wesley Hardin is a little bit of a bullshit artist, which is funny since they make their money with cows. But in Abilene, Texas, there's a place called the Bull's Head Tavern, Kahuna.
Yeah, so the trail drive, the cattle drive is now over. And John Wesley Hardin is now going back to Texas. And he ends up in Abilene, Texas. So he's making the rounds.
Oh, yeah. There's a place called the Bull's Head Tavern. And it's an establishment owned by former military men and law enforcers and gamblers. Okay. You can be one, two, or even all three. These gentlemen's names are Phil Coe and Ben Thompson. Coe, I'm having a moment of doubt here. Can you Google something for me real quick?
Sure.
Can you Google the Bull's Head Tavern in Abilene and just confirm that it's in Texas for me?
The Bull's Head Tavern.
Yeah, I'm 90% sure. But anyway, this fancy little joint had a very funny little sign on it. Okay.
Wait a minute.
Bull's Head Tavern. That one's in New York City. So search Bull's Head Tavern, John Wesley Hardin. So, interestingly enough, this place is owned by, like we said, guys named Phil Coe and Ben Thompson. Their fancy little joint, like we said, had a fancy little sign on it. The Bull's Tavern, as it were, of course, would feature a giant bull on its sign. And nobody had a problem with that.
No, it's the Bull's Head Tavern. You're going to have a big bull on the side.
Is it maybe the Bull's Head Saloon?
It could be. Check that out in there. So Ben Thompson and Phil Coe. All right, yeah, open that one up.
There you go.
Real Life Tavern. Look for that one on there. Just confirm the location.
You can see how much extensive research
Kansas.
American Loser does.
Kansas, Abilene, Kansas.
Yeah, Abilene, Kansas.
See, okay, so this makes sense now. This is why this comes in here. We correct ourselves. So we did not go back to Texas. Quick edit on the fly here. Looking at the camera and apologize.
Sorry, folks. You can see the extensive research we do.
This is what happens when
minutes of research.
I write on Ambien. Okay, I'm not even sure what I'm saying half the time, folks. But anyway, they're in Kansas now at this Bull's Head Tavern. Now, here's the key. This is what I wanted Kahuna to pay full attention for. It's called the Bull's Head Tavern, Kahuna, and the sign is a giant bull. Yeah. And everybody's cool with that. The only problem they have is the bull has a giant, massive penis, and it's erect.
Wait. What?
Well, you can tell by the sign. There's a lot of people that are illiterate. They can't read Bull's Head Tavern. But if you see on the side of your building this huge painting of a bull fully erect, that's going to draw your attention.
And you're not making any of this up.
No. A bull with a giant heart on. Okay. I will go with this giant for the visual thing.
Okay.
He's got that. It's out there and people are complaining in the town about it. Okay.
Yeah. And some of the locals take exception to the.
I walk my kid to school every day. There's a giant bull's dick right in my face the entire time. Can you guys do anything about that? So the townsfolk in Kansas are going to go to one of their lawmen, and a fellow by the name of Wild Bill Hickok. Okay.
You might have heard of him, right?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah,
oh, yeah. So Wild Bill Hickok will order them to change the bull's penis into can we make it like a smiley face or something? Maybe it's maybe it's like a balloon animal that the bull's making for the kids or something. But anyway, they refuse, which forces Hickok's hand. Hickok will actually paint over the bull's the drawing and painting himself. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little graffiti art.
Exactly.
Tag art.
That's I am the PK kid, if you guys don't know. But anyway, they Kahuna appreciated that. Thank you. Now, interestingly enough, when you paint over these people's sounds, this Phil Coe guy and this Ben Thompson, they don't really like Wild Bill Hickok coming in there and telling them what to do. After all, you know what I mean? They own the place. They're gamblers. They're military men. These are tough guys. And they start talking up and down. And they say, they see a tough new kid over in town here in Kansas. And they go up to him and they say, everyone's referring to this guy as Little Arkansas. That's his nickname.
Yeah, he's not going by the name of John Wesley Hardin at this point.
Exactly.
He
So they're
figured
calling
that
him Little Arkansas.
He's got an alias.
And they may or may not know they're actually dealing with John Wesley Hardin. That is, up for some discussion here. But they go ahead and they start mentioning out loud, that Wild Bill guy, he just picks on people from Texas. He doesn't really like us Southerners. He's a Yankee. Did you know that? They keep saying things, hoping it's going to egg on Little Arkansas.
Yeah.
And Little Arkansas then claims out loud that he goes, "You want Bill dead? Why don't you go kill him?" So,
shit.
Yep. And the two, Hickok and Hardin, will actually strike up an uneasy friendship. Hardin would surrender his guns to Wild Bill in town because that was the rule. You can't bring your guns to town, boys. Can't bring your guns into town. So what does John Wesley Hardin do when it's time for Wild Bill Hickok, a very feared and famous gunfighter already, a lawman out in Kansas? He's going to go disarm John Wesley Hardin, who, again, is going by Little Arkansas at this point, and he doesn't know that he's a wanted man. But John Wesley Hardin has a way of letting you know, okay? So John Wesley Hardin reaches across, like we said, into his shoulders, okay, into his pocket vest, if you will, where his holsters are, and pulls his pistols out and hands them over to Wild Bill Hickok with the butts out to him, right? And then what does he do? Because he practiced every day in the mirror, he flips them back around. All of a sudden, he's got both guns drawn on Wild Bill Hickok before Wild Bill Hickok can say, "Hey."
Yeah, and that's something that's been played in the movies.
Again, we're going to mention it right there at the end because there's a lot of good stuff to be pulled in from here. So he just wanted to show him how fast he was and let him know, hey, by the way, you might be the law in town, but
I'm still the fastest.
Yeah, I'm still the fastest.
You might have painted over a big swinging dick, but I am the big swinging dick. So anyway, Hardin actually winds up having a schoolboy fascination with this famous gunfighter and Wild Bill Hickok. He's like enamored by him. He just wants to get noticed by him. That's probably why he showed off a little bit in front of him. You know what I mean? It's not, but they have an uneasy friendship here. And that's kind of the subject of some debate as to whether or not this went down the exact way it did. But apparently Wild Bill actually liked John Wesley Hardin enough that he didn't, when he found out that he was a wanted man, he goes, I don't know if, maybe keep a low profile while you're out here. You know what I mean? Kind of a mutual respect thing.
Keep it on the down low, and maybe we don't have to test one another.
Oh, yeah. Now, Hardin also claims that he could outdraw, in that story, where Hardin's always the hero in his stories. That's why it's always self-defense, and it's always somebody that deserved it. He says that he outdrew Wild Bill Hickok. All right, so that's his claim to fame on this one here. And he'll also even say that Wild Bill will actually help one of Hardin's cousins escape from jail out of respect.
Oh,
Little Goodfellas action. Now, for your timeline, Dad, 1871.
Yep.
August of 1871. Hardin decides not to put his newfound friendship with Hickok to the test during one of his most dastardly deeds. One drunken night of gambling and being forced to share a bedroom wall with a man who was loudly snoring, the irritable and still drunk Hardin, after several verbal warnings to the gentleman to knock it off or move to your side, quit snoring, he decides, I'm going to just shoot my gun into the wall over there, and the shots will wake him up, and then maybe I can get some goddamn sleep before while he's scared for his life. Only problem is,
it worked.
Kinda. Hardin shot the man for snoring too loud and killed him.
oh God.
Yep, one of the shots hit him square in the heart. The man died snoring. He was not awake to learn that he had died.
Yeah, he's in the next room.
He's
just firing shots through the wall, thinking that the noise of that gunfire is going to wake the guy up and stop his snoring. Well, unfortunately, one of the shots hit its mark, the guy snoring, and he went into the permanent dirt nap.
Well, now Hardin has shot a man for snoring too loud and killed him, like you said, but now he's got this fear. He goes, I got a friendship with Wild Bill Hickok, but I also wouldn't put it past him to just gun me down in the streets first chance he gets to say I took down John Wesley Hardin, who, by the way, just killed a man for snoring.
Right.
So rather than let Wild Bill add him to his reputation, according to Hardin, Hardin would leave Kansas and never return. The next year of Hardin's life would see him on the road, evading captors, and of course, in classic Hardin style, more gunfights.
Yeah, there's a laundry list coming up here with where he goes from here.
You got anything on it? Don't let me hold you up here.
No, go ahead.
In September 1871, a black posse from Austin, Texas, comes after him for killing Paramore, but said that they returned sadder and wiser after he ambushed and killed 3 of them. So that's Hardin saying, yeah, they sent some boys after me. I sent them back packing. and maybe they'll come try again someday. I don't know. 1872, about 45 miles outside of Corpus Christi, Texas. After he was followed by 2 Mexicans, he shot one off his horse while the other quit the fight. So,
in other words, he did the skedaddle. I
Yeah.
guess.
yeah. Now,
He
keep
knew
in mind,
better.
Yeah.
keep in mind, you don't know, by the way, you don't know if this is like Red Dead Redemption. You know what I mean? You don't know if it's like that, where it's like, hey, you're following me a little too close, or are they actually out to get him? You don't know. All right. In June 19th, 1872, Hardin will be involved in a gunfight in Wildest, Texas. He will also wound a Texas state policeman named Sonny Spites in the arm with a Derringer pistol. Cahoons, do you know what a Derringer is, by the way? This would be a good thing for my father to teach you about.
A Derringer. I'm assuming it's a brand of a specific weapon.
I believe so, but it's also a model of. How would you describe a Derringer?
Well, it's really a single shot or a 2-shot mini pistol. That's something that could fit into the palm of your hand.
Oh,
It's like a vest pocket
Is it like
kind of a weapon that it's going to be only good for close quarters type of thing. It's nothing for long range because the barrel is so short, but it can be easily hidden. Sometimes they would call it for women a pocket purse, a purse gun that you could put it into a woman's purse or into your vest pocket or whatever.
Mhm.
That it can be easily hidden on your.
There were boot pistols as well. There were pistols that were so small they could be kept in your belt buckle. I mean, people stayed strapped out in the Wild West.
It goes into the whole concealed carry kind of a thing.
Now
sure does.
that also doesn't apply. Like when I think of tiny guns, I think of Django Unchained.
I thought you were about to say the noisy cricket.
the scene where DiCaprio's character gets killed off, and Christoph Waltz's character has the very tiny pistol that is hidden in like the palm of his hand.
Yeah, that's a Derringer.
That's a
That would be a
Derringer?
Derringer.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Ah,
Good
okay.
good pull. Now, there was one of my favorite shows ever as a kid, one of my favorite movies as well, but
Deadwood.
the Magnificent Seven.
Oh.
There was a character on there named Ezra that Kerry was obsessed with.
Mhm.
That was her favorite character, and he was a gambler. And what he would do at the table, and this wasn't something unique to the character. It wasn't like they invented this. This was a thing, but the character would have like almost like a draw that he could hit.
A spring-loaded kind of a thing in his.
He could hit down here, and then the pistol would pop out into his hand. So De Niro had that in Taxi Driver as well. So now we learned something here, folks. Now all of this is going to lead up to
Inspector Gadget.
Yeah. If you could bring up real quick the Wanted poster. I just want to show this Wanted poster here to everybody as well. And again, folks, if you're not enjoying the show in the visual medium, we do just get some cool pictures up here. I try to put them up in the Instagram as well whenever I promote the episodes and stuff. But the Gentleman Killer, here is the one we are looking for. Now wanted for killing Deputy Sheriff Charles Webb of Brown County, Texas. You're about to get into that. He's, by the way, well-dressed, extremely dangerous, and always armed. This is Texas's 007. And by the way, it's not a bad picture of him here too. All right, jawlines defined, folks. Okay, clean-cut kid. All right, he's not a bad guy.
Not necessarily a license to kill, but
License
make do with
to
what
thrill.
you got.
Exactly. So all of this is going to lead to what is known as the Sutton-Taylor feud. Lawrence Patrick Burke, can you give us the skinny on the Sutton-Taylor feud and our boy John Wesley Hardin?
Yeah, well, that's quite a meaty topic, but we'll try to boil this thing down as quickly as we possibly can. We're back in Texas, and we're in Reconstruction, Texas, so we're post-Civil War. Again, the Union Army came into Galveston and announced that all the blacks are now free, finally, and the Emancipation Proclamation took place, but now they're finally finding out about it. During the Civil War, there was a lot of slave owners that would take their slaves to Texas, thinking they're going to keep them out of the war and bring them to the safety, if you will, to remote Texas. Now that the war is over, Texas is a complete shit show. I mean, it's the rule of the gun that you have all these various groups that are forming up, these vigilante groups that are trying to bring some type of their brand of law and order to it. And when I say their brand, a lot of it has to do with family ties. Now, the war's been going on for 4 years. The cattle are all over the place. There's no fences. There's no boundaries. There's no stakes in the ground to mark this guy's territory, that guy's property, this guy's property, and even the cattle are unbranded. So whoever can gather up the cattle across the Texas wayside is hey, these are mine. I'm going to put my brand on these unbranded cattle, and they're mine. Or
Possession
I'm
is
change
9/10 of the
Right.
law.
So some people may call them cowboys, other people are going to call them rustlers. So that if you're stealing cattle, you're a rustler. If they're your cows, you're the cowboy. You're minding the herd. So, it's a cattle grab, if you will, and that's one sign of wealth. Now, there's a lot of old families within Texas that have been there for quite some time, and the Taylors are one of those. They were one of the early arrivals, if you will, to Texas, and they've got their sides. Most everybody there were Confederates during the war, and now you've got the Union Army coming in, and these Northerners. I mean, you got the whole carpetbagger thing, where a lot of these scoundrel politicians are coming in and setting up shop and doing the whole land grab for themselves. There's black troops,
Like a military governor of the Carolinas named Dan Sickles.
and Sickles.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just a complete shit show, and you're going to be forming your group. And a lot of that has to do with your family. So the Suttons are forming their own group by who's a leader by name of Billy Sutton, and he's backed by the law because it was actually the Texas appointed governor at the time that formed this so-called Texas State Police. They're just armed mercenaries, if you will, that are fighting for the
right to party.
Yeah. So
Well, I mean, the Texas Rangers was an interesting creation as well, too. I mean,
and a lot of the Texas Rangers came from the core group of the Texas Rangers, which was going to be a little bit later on, came from these original state police. And there was about 200 of them, but they're their own law, and they're riding roughshod over all the locals now, and they have their own financial interests, if you will. So if they accuse somebody of some wrongdoing, they're going to work on their own behalf. That they're going to be judge, jury, and executioner right out there on the plains. That there was one guy who was part of this whole Sutton gang, if you will, because really they were the regulators. I mean, another movie reference. This Billy Sutton and his regulators. There was a guy by the name of Jack Helm, who again was appointed by the Texas governor, and he's part of this state police. Jack Helm ran into a little problem because many of the people that he arrested, if they were wanted dead or alive, they came back dead.
It's really less paperwork when you think about it.
Wanted dead, live optional.
Saving the state all kinds of time and money and expense. That if we bring them back dead, I mean, it's done and over with. So they found some exception to that thing, and and meanwhile, the Taylor side of the family, they weren't, church going.
No, there's really no heroes in this
straight
story.
And narrows kind of a thing. They were a badass bunch themselves. That they're going out and they're rustling cattle and everything else. This one particular guy, Buck Taylor, back in 1866, so the war was just over. Buck has a run-in with some black colored troops, and he shoots two of them dead. Well, they took exception to that, so now he's a wanted guy. Billy Sutton goes after some of the Buck Taylor and his gang. So there's a whole feud that takes place, and it became known as the Sutton-Taylor feud. And it was the longest running and bloodiest feud out of all of the feuds. When you Google family feuds in the U.S. history, Sutton-Taylor feud is right up there as
With the
number
Hatfields and
one.
the
I just
Coys.
pictured Steve Harvey walking in between the two of them. Name me something that would make you kill a man.
Yeah. And the problem is the law is really on both sides, because this Texas Taylor family is headed by one Pitkin Taylor, but he had a brother, Creed Taylor, who later on becomes one of the Texas Rangers. He's a local sheriff, where these Texas state police are kind of on a state level. So I mean, it's just a shit show as to who's killing who, and it's law by the feud. And there was a great line in the movie The Outlaw Josie Wales.
He finally reveals it. We've
All
been
right.
alluding to it this entire episode.
Yeah, right in the beginning of that movie, when some of the Confederates surrender, all except Josie, and then they shoot him dead. I mean, that's where they take care of the things. And then the former leader of the Confederates, this guy Forrest in the movie, he said, "Men like Wales lives by the feud, and what you did here today, I've got to kill that man." So I mean, that
I don't think he wrote that down. I think he just pulled that. I think you just remembered that.
No, men like Wales, they live by the feud, and if that's a feud, that's a blood feud right now. So you kill one of mine, I got to kill at least one of yours, and that whole thing went back and forth. There was another a Buck Taylor who shot another black Reconstruction soldier. So there was many Taylors who were wanted. They set up this state police. They go after some of the help, and they're helping out their side, if you will. It's just back and forth. Captain Jack Helm arrests two of the Taylors. They were the Kelly boys. They were part of the Taylor side of the feud, if you will, because they married into the Taylor clan.
There just ain't no winning in this situation.
Yeah, there was no winning with this. But anyhow, some of these Taylor people were arrested, and they were shot in the back of the head. So I mean, that was that's the way they were executed. The Taylors took exception to that, So now finally, back in 1872, an on-the-run outlaw, our own John Wesley Hardin.
See, he's back, folks. You thought we were on a diatribe.
Yeah. He joins his cousin, a Clements, Manon Clements. He comes back. A
lot of good names.
He joins up with his cousin. So I mean, if you're not a blood brother relative, you're at least a cousin. And again, this whole thing is feuding. Like, you got to choose sides. You're not going to be an innocent bystander and just watch the fight.
Oh, man.
You got to choose a side, which way you're going to go here with. And then Hardin gets involved with this whole feud because, his cousin is there, and he's a cattle rustler. He's an outlaw himself. So, I mean, he's in good company.
Oh, fighting? The thing I've been doing since I was 9? Oh,
Right.
Sure. Yeah,
I'm in.
Yeah,
No problem.
Why not? Let's see. What's up with these Taylors,
All right. So, I mean, and there's the Sutton family allies go after some of the Taylors at Tummelson Creek, and it's just back and forth.
Bigger and badder than the Hatfields and the McCoys.
Absolutely.
Better branding from the Hatfields and the McCoys. I would say that much. Okay. Better publicist.
I mean, you're in the Wild West, where at least the Hatfields and McCoys were back east, if you will. But anyhow, this whole thing goes back and forth, and Hardin has a very much an influence or a direct play in some of the killings that the Taylor side committed against the Sutton side. I don't know if you want to get into that with
No, because we have to. Obviously, the most I would say probably one of the most noteworthy acts of his murdering career and shooting career, if you will, is the shooting of Webb. So I don't know if you wanted to get into that, because that's what's going to set off the biggest bounty on his head and makes him actually make a run. He's gone up to Kansas before to let things cool off, but I was pretty impressed at just how far east he came. Very, very east, but over the shooting of Webb. I don't know if you had anything on that.
Yeah, well, there was the one guy, the Sutton, the name that the feud is, the guy that the name is the feud is named after. Sutton decides, hey, I've had enough of this. There's just way, way too much bloodshed. He's recently married. His wife is now pregnant. He decides that he's going to get the hell out of Texas. And while he's boarding,
Do we know where he
ship,
relocates to? Because it would be funny if it was a Sutton and not a Taylor that was going to Carolina in his mind.
Well, he's on board. He's actually on board ship, waiting to get out of Texas with his pregnant wife and a friend and his wife.
To feel the pending doom at home, folks.
And then John Wesley Hardin and some of the Taylors come aboard and gun them down in front of their wives.
Pretty dastardly.
Yeah, pretty dastardly deed. So John Wesley Hardin is most definitely a wanted guy now, because this was a guy that was, that's it, I quit, I'm going to retire. Well, not until you pay the price for killing some of our kin.
Hardin lives by the feud.
Lives by the feud, right? So Hardin is now a most wanted man by some of the officials in Texas, and Hardin does the skedaddle, and I'll let you come back to Hardin. Is that enough for you?
No, we're good to go.
We're good.
And we got to wrap soon too anyway, because it's just I have a spot to do tonight. Larry Burke has a Yankee game to be watching.
Absolutely.
And also it's just not the bell works if someone's not playing a drum set out in the hallway. So now there's going to be a $4,000 bounty on his head. And keep in mind, this is 1800s money, folks. All right. That's big, big money.
That's a change your life money.
It sure is. It sure is.
Absolutely.
And Hardin's going to actually have to disappear and try to get away from the heat on this one. He will actually make it as far east as, I'll give you one guess, Kahuna.
Where's a good place to escape from, Kevin?
Where's a good place to?
Jacksonville, Florida.
So he escapes from Texas to Jacksonville, as opposed to me. He winds up in Jacksonville, Florida. That's true. He's also on and out. He's out in
Wait, are you serious?
Absolutely, 100%. Mobile, Alabama, all the Panhandle areas, that Gulf Coast area. He winds up down there. And now Hardin is able to escape most of his captors. He'll even kill a few of them for their attempts. But he's eventually finally captured in 1877 on a train in Pensacola, Florida. Pensacola, by the way, that's Panhandle. There's a Navy base out there. I've done comedy out there at a place called the Jellyfish. All right. Pensacola is cool. There's not a lot going on out there, but he was on a train in Pensacola, and as Hardin is being approached by these men who are clearly there to capture him, law enforcement's moving in on him. Hardin goes to pull his pistols out, but they get caught in his suspenders, because remember, he's got those cool fancy. So now imagine going to do the most badass thing possible, reaching across yourself to then pull out your pistols and start blasting. And you go,
damn suspenders.
Stupid suspenders. And as he's struggling with, well, I like to picture that part of it got caught on his own underwear and he's pulling out his boxers in front of him. But like a little Leslie Nielsen type thing. But now while he's struggling to get his pistols out, the authorities see that they make their move. They knock him out cold with a pistol whip, which is also one of John Wesley Hardin's famous moves. So now, having been tried now for the killing of Webb, Hardin is sentenced to 25 years. 25 years. The life expectancy is not very long to begin with. Now, 25 years, and he's no longer the young boy that he once was here, too. And I do want to bring up real quick, I'll mention it towards the end, actually. You saw the wanted poster. You saw what he looked like as a young man here. He's not a young man anymore. He will do 25 years at Huntsville Prison in Texas. There will be constant escape attempts. One that, like, he was they said, I think it was hours away from completing a tunnel that he had dug to get out of it. He's doing Shawshank type shit in here. Okay.
He's scrappy.
He's a wild boy. So
he's a scrappy one.
Eventually, they keep adding time on for the escape attempts, and they also keep adding time on for subsequent further charges where maybe a court case does get out and they say, hey, we're going to tack on 2 years for this one, because it turns out that, we were able to get you on manslaughter for this one. Now he knows he's likely going to die behind bars. And the prison routine eventually becomes something that he adjusts to. while he's in prison, all right, and again, Kahuna, you know this. We've already pulled out a couple of different movies.
Mhm.
Okay. While he's in prison, he bettered himself.
Did he really know?
Got some additional book learning.
If you wanted to, again, this is what was it, Cyrus the Virus from Con Air.
Mhm.
He kept getting degrees while he was in prison. John Wesley Hardin begins studying law. Okay, studying law, and then heads up the prison Sunday school. 40 to 50 men he's killed.
He's got that Methodist background, though.
Exactly. But he's teaching Sunday school. He's back to reading the Bible and everything. And also there, he decides, he goes, it's time to put out my own work. So he starts a podcast with his dad. No, John Wesley Hardin is legitimately now heading up the Sunday school in the prison in Texas, where he is serving what would be considered a life sentence. And again, he puts out in his autobiography where he claims he takes all the murders that he's actually been hit with, or even remotely associated with, then a bunch of other murders that no one has any proof on, and is admitting to them in his own autobiography, in which he's also just making up shit that they're like, there's no way that happened. You weren't even there at this time. This is provably false. He goes, nope, it's in the book. Must have happened.
That's right.
I'm looking for a seller here, folks. All right.
Gotta be true. I read it on the internet.
Exactly. You know, why
I read it in a book.
But again, unreal, this guy's life over here. And by the way, he doesn't want you to think that he's glamorizing his life at all, folks. While in prison with his exaggerated details and making up brand new stories, and then because of his desire to convey his Christian ideals being resurrected within himself, he's actually going to go ahead and say at the very end there, he gives a warning to the kids. Hey, this might sound pretty cool, but it all started with drinking. And if you drink and kill people, it's not going to end good for you. The more you know. John Wesley Hardin. Now in 1894, get this, Cahoons, Hardin is released from prison. He is then pardoned.
50 murders.
Oh yeah,
50 confirmed kills.
Not well. Again,
Not confirmed.
This is what he said.
confirmed or denied.
Oh yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah,
Alleged,
there's no penalty for bullshitting.
Right.
But he's out.
He is out. He is then pardoned for some of the crimes that he committed. Right. And
By
then,
who?
there's at this point too. This is the crazy part. So, as early as that first waylaying of the Union soldiers that were coming to arrest him when he for the initial killing of the former slave in the wrestling match, people were already kind of on his side with some stuff. This was a rebel. If you want to convey the idea that the rebels were going against the federal government that was encroaching upon into Texas. Texas was sitting there like, we were our own country once. Why are we sitting here taking orders from people in D.C. right now?
Right.
Why are these guys telling me that they're taking, again, property is a human here. We already said it on the show.
Yes.
People should own people. But the Union government is saying, oh, by the way, we're taking this from you. And so there was this real feel of, as they were squashing their rights and trying to fundamentally change the way that they were living down there, that there was like, it'd be nice to see somebody score one against these sons of bitches coming down here with their guns telling us what to do. So as early as that waylaying of the Union troops that got killed with his shotgun, people in town hid the bodies. They would hide the bodies of some of the troops in like a creek, not miles, probably a decent distance away.
Yeah, I think you're leaving out part of it too.
They tried to aid and abet this gentleman, is what I'm saying. But
they were also black soldiers. So there was a
major part.
There was part of the townspeople were taking exception to the fact that they're sending black federal troops to arrest this former Confederate soldier.
Like we said, I think a third of the Texas State Police was black soldiers at that point. So, and it's nuts too, man. By the way, you want to talk about a shit assignment?
Yeah, go arrest this guy.
Yeah. Hey, congratulations on your freedom here. The only job we have is for you to go down there now and tell them what to do with a gun. And Colin Quinn always said that's the best. Is that he goes when he was, I think it was in the New York story that he was talking about why black communities don't trust the system is because they've been screwed over by the system so much. And then what's the worst thing you can do? Take a young white kid, give him a gun, and say, "Hey, I'm here on behalf of the system," and you wonder why they don't get along. But Colin's just a genius. I'm not. But I will say this. Hardin's autobiography is going to sell pretty well here, too, because throughout his entire life, this legend has been spreading about this rebel outlaw out there. And, John Wesley Hardin came through town. So there's almost a reverence being held for him here. The autobiography is only going to help, increase his legacy there. People are writing about him. You're approaching the era of dime store novels and stuff like that.
Right.
So also in 1894, Hardin, like we said, is released from prison, then takes the bar exam and passes it.
He's got credentials now.
Texas's wildest gunfighter in history can now defend himself with the law instead of against it. Okay, so that is again. Imagine having oh, he's a killer. What about in the courtroom? Oh, he's pretty good. Yeah, but he's an actual killer in real life. So, now of course you can't go totally straight though. And on a bet that he could shoot a shot that would quote knock a Mexican off his soapbox. In a $5 bet, there's this poor Mexican fella sleeping on a soapbox, and that somebody tells John Wesley Hardin, he goes, "I heard you're a badass, man. You think you could shoot a shot and maybe knock him off of that little soapbox that he's on?" And he goes, "Yeah, I bet you I could do that." So he shoots the shot, and this poor Mexican fellow who's just laying out on a soapbox, he does fall off the soapbox. So John Wesley Hardin wins this $5 bet. Okay, Mexican guy dies from the fall.
Not even the shot?
The bullet doesn't hit him. The bullet does not hit him. And it was not intended to hit him. It was to shoot him off of the soapbox.
I would have never let that information get out.
And
that would have been my dying breath. Let it be known I died from the gunshot.
Yep, died from the fall off of the soapbox here. And of course, like we said, he can't go totally straight. That's his only thing. So he actually, because of the fall being what killed him, and probably his own legal acumen at this point too, I believe the charge that they were trying to levy against him was a negligent homicide.
Oops.
Negligent.
Oops, sorry about that.
That's right.
My bad.
Better known as oopsie side.
Oopsie side.
Oopsie side.
That might become part of my my modern parlance. Welcome to the zeitgeist. So,
if it does, I hope so. That'd be amazing.
Oh, dude, the oopsie side is hilarious. So, but yeah, the guy winds up getting out of prison over here. He's able to live life on his terms. Okay, he just can't seem to stay out of trouble though. Hardin's rep as a tough gunfighter was so much, and again, now the legacy is growing on him. Coons, could you pull up the picture of the pistol that he had real quick?
Sure. No problem.
So there's people out there that want to buy. There's actually branding. So you picture an athlete having something, a sponsor, and an ad's going to be run for a product that an athlete's associated with. And in the back of your mind, you want to sit there and be like, okay, I'm just like so-and-so now. You know what I mean? For me as a kid, I remember, there was a million different products that spoke to me. What was something that jumped out at you as a kid?
As a kid?
Or even right now.
Oh, hey, if I buy the right sneakers, I can be a superstar basketball player.
You could. It was just the sneakers that was holding you back.
Sneakers was holding me back.
So, no, I know that one. There's a bunch of stuff with that. There's a lot of, I bought supplements from Joe Rogan that made me think that I was going to become a shredded monster. Okay. Kona's got a bunch of other stuff too that he's bought, I'm sure.
Comment.
I thought if I bought enough Sports Illustrated swimsuit editions, Elle McPherson would be something that would happen for me. The jury's not out yet. Elle, if you're listening, you still look great. That being said, they're trying to brand now some of these things. Elgin watch, or Elgin, I'm not sure how it's actually pronounced, but that was the watch that John Wesley Hardin was known to carry, and that became something that a little bit of a selling point for them. It's like, ooh, an Elgin watch, just like John Wesley Hardin carries. You know you're a badass from Texas when you have an Elgin watch. Also, if you could bring up that picture of the pistol again one more time for me, Cones. That one's interesting. That is a Colt. Now it's weird too, because he had another revolver that he carried was called the Colt Lightning, which was much smaller. And then this is what they're saying is John Wesley Hardin Smith & Wesson revolver, which actually looks a lot like, obviously there's different things. Colt had a Navy revolver, which is, to me, the sharpest looking gun ever. If you can pull up a picture of that gun, if you just Google Navy Colt revolver, if I can buy one of these one day, if we ever make enough money on this that I actually am not hemorrhaging my money to try to teach you guys about history, I'll pull this up. But again, this is brand name attachment here for this stuff. The reputation is growing so far and so insanely about the fame that John Wesley Hardin is enjoying right now in his final years, if you will.
These bad boys.
Yeah, that's them right there.
Them.
Now that is actually
these are expensive.
So they are, if you want to get a real one made. Now, what's really cool too is that both of those pistols, they're long. They almost look like more ridiculous. And again, Star Wars pulls off a lot of these things too when they talk about that. But again, picture drawing two of those out of each side of you, and then brandishing, dual revolvers and just going like that. That is, amongst other things, taken exactly from the John Wesley Hardin story and kind of merged into the character of Josie Wales in Clint Eastwood's masterpiece, The Outlaw.
Josie Wales.
Josie Wales.
Josie Wales.
Not a hard man to find. Leaves dead men wherever he goes. So
Yep.
one of my all-time favorite movies, if not my favorite. I really can't decide anymore. But these are all things that are, Clint Eastwood is using because of the legends that he was being told about this guy, John Wesley Hardin, I'm sure. Now, again, there's some people that don't really like that legend, or people that hear the legend, they say, well, I bet you I'm badder than him. And that enters a constable in El Paso. Now that he's out of prison, able to live on his own terms again, the boy just can't stay out of trouble. And his reputation is going to be challenged as a tough gunfighter by another tough gunfighter, who again happens to be a lawman in El Paso,
Right.
Texas. Now, where was that beef in the beginning of the story, Kahuna? Where they were standing over the graves trying to figure out if we were going to relocate him or they were going to leave him? Right there in El Paso, Texas. So
Right in the heart of
this also comes from New York City.
Oh God.
Oh, what a pull. The 8 people that get that. Thank you so much. Anyway, in summation here, though, folks, it will come down to Larry Burke. Larry Burke, you tell Jeff Garlick right now, all right? His phone goes off.
No, it's all good.
Hundreds of dollars of production value. Anyway, it comes down.
Totally my bad. I apologize.
No worries, it
You're
happens.
good. Relax, sir. Now,
I put that on airplane, but apparently I did not.
El Paso, Texas. All right. El Paso, Texas. After the 2 men had exchanged heated words over a pistol whipping that Hardin had dealt out, it will come down to a game of dice. John Wesley Hardin will place his bet just before Selman will walk up behind him on August 19th, 1895, and shoot Hardin from behind. With the outlaw's body on the ground, Selman will now shoot him 3 more times. The man is dead, but the legend of Hardin will only grow.
He just wanted to make sure,
Hardin's killed.
Like we've seen Scream.
A back shooter, though.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. This is interesting now. Hardin's killer, Constable Selman, would not live to face justice for the murder of Hardin. And you better believe there's a lot of people that wanted the murder of John Wesley Hardin avenged, because this was a little bit of a folk hero to some people. So, although even Hardin had to probably admire Selman's claim of self-defense, even though he got shot in the back, okay, and then shot 3 more times on the ground, which, by the way, shooting somebody in the back, the very same crime that started Hardin's career many, many years ago after that ill-fated wrestling match.
Shot in the back by Buford Tannen over a matter of $80. And
any chance he gets, man. you can't hold the Kahuna down.
Nope.
Now, Mr. Selman would soon join John Wesley Hardin in the ground. So Selman's not going to live that much longer here, because during a poker game gone wrong, it's going to lead to a gunfight with a U.S. Marshal by the name of George Scarborough. And if that's not a badass name for a U.S., if Marshal Scarborough's coming after you and just the name alone doesn't make you think twice.
Scarborough Fair?
Yeah, Scarborough.
Are you going?
But Scarborough is he's a tough guy in his own right there, too. He winds up actually killing Selman in this gunfight. So Selman's now dead. Hardin's grave, by the way, does remain in El Paso, Texas. His trademark Colt Lightning pistols and also his Smith & Wesson pistols remain very popular. And in fact, his personal effects were sold off to the highest bidder. So right now we're talking about Aaron Judge's 60th home run ball and the people just going crazy trying to grab it and then giving it back to Aaron Judge, hoping that the Yankees are going to quietly take care of him on the side. These are things like we're trying to buy a piece of history here. And it's, mostly affluent people that are able to afford these things. But the personal effects of John Wesley Hardin would make a great conversation piece for my living room, perhaps the sunroom,
It's not wrong.
But it's a pretty cool one here, man. And the rich men who wanted on a piece of what I would consider the Wild West's wildest man, which is, there's a lot to talk about with all that, too. There's a lot of people to compare him to.
You really enjoyed saying that, didn't you?
He is the wildest man. I would say that much on that. Now, Lawrence Patrick, do you have anything you want to say to the good people at home before we send this one back?
Well, the last time you asked me that, you told me to don't add stuff at the end. Well, I always had a little.
No, I love.
Side note.
You're busting chops appropriately, but it is. I never cared that you didn't add. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. I've never cared, Dad, that you add stuff at the end. In fact, I want you to.
No.
We all just laugh because you always say, "Nah, it's
but
just
one little thing." No, this was a fun episode to research this and I actually had to put down a almost like a scorecard with that Sutton Taylor feud because who's aligned with who and back and forth and bop it bop and they sign a peace accord and then 2 weeks later somebody else gets shot and the whole thing goes to shit.
How many times on this show would you say we've said, all right, well, let's just do like a little thing, and then we're like, all right, it looks like the episode's about this now.
Really, that's not just a little side piece. It's a whole nother episode. But yeah, it was a fun one. And John Wesley Hardin, I know a whole lot more about him now than I did before. But yeah, he was so many movie, cliches, if you will, have come, I think, from the real life events of John Wesley Hardin.
You're pretty good when, literally, if people are arguing over my grave 100 years from now, I made an impact. Okay. That's kind of the feeling.
Right.
By the way, that was 100 years after his death, Kahuna, that issue in El Paso went down.
Really?
Where they were arguing about that.
Yeah, think of the tourist trade, though.
They did want to bring him over to, because, there's also that great one from, because I grew up on Western movies between my grandfather and this guy and Uncle Paulie as well. But we used to watch them all. It was one of my favorites was The Shootist with John Wayne. And at the very end, he's John Wayne knows he's going to be walking over to his death now. He's challenged the three baddest guys in town all to a gunfight at the same time.
They need to kill him, though.
Yep. But so John Wayne gets his hair cut, and the barber is sitting. He goes, "Would it be all right to sell some of your hair, sir?" And he goes, "Yeah, I don't see why not."
Sure, why not?
And what does the guy do? He's sitting there sweeping up the hair, and he sees a bunch of hair in the other corner. He goes, why not? And just starts sweeping. Because he gets a whole, it's like 8 other different people's hair, and he's going to sell all of it there. That's the kind of legacy, and almost because we're sort of in a pre-sports era at this time. So your cultural heroes, the people that are, you're looking up to, your adventurers, your movie heroes, if you will, are coming from the dime store novels and the stories that are being told around, the campfire or, the things you're hearing at the tavern or the bar or the saloon, depending on where you're at. So these guys are a little bit larger than life, and John Wesley Hardin, he certainly lives up to the bill on that one.
Yeah, and people have always had a fascination with the outlaw. I mean, Bonnie and Clyde, Al Capone. I mean, all the gangsters, all the outlaws, all the badass cowboys, Billy the Kid. I mean, all of that shit has always been a fascination with those living outside the law.
I mean, still to this day, we have it, like you were saying, too. And by the way, I think Ming just texted me, and I think what's going on outside is 90s night, Kahuna.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
So we'll see what happens with that one.
And if there's background noise, we apologize for that, but
We'll get through on that one.
that's life at the Universal and Shared Universe Studios.
It sure is.
Yeah.
Now, I got to hit the road here in a minute because I have to get up to a gig tonight. But I will say this. I got some exciting stuff coming up. Pay attention for me. I'll be appearing on another episode of Robert Kelly's You Know What, Dude, which we'll be recording in the city. I'm excited about that one. The Giants are playing on Monday Night Football. Personally, for me, that's just exciting. But no, I got a couple other cool things. Friday, September 30th. I will be with the great Robert Kelly in Pennsylvania. I believe we're doing I think it's Jim Thorpe the first night and Newtown Theater the second night. So that is Friday the 30th in Pennsylvania at Mock Chunk Opera House, Jim Thorpe, PA. Okay. And then October 1st is the Newtown Theater in Newtown, Pennsylvania, one of the oldest theaters in the country. I think it might actually be the oldest theater in the country at this point, too. And it looks like you could kill Lincoln in the back of it. That's how old this place is, right? But it's pretty great. That's going to be, again, that's September 30th, October 1st. And then, folks, some exciting stuff here. I have the 14th and the 15th. I think it's one show a night. Maybe it's 2 shows a night. I'll confirm. Nick's Comedy Stop in Boston. I will be headlining the entire weekend. I'm very excited about that. Earned in Blood. If you know some people up in the Boston area, tell them to come check me out. If you're up in the Boston area, please, please, please come check me out. I want to sell some tickets, man. Yell American Loser out when they bring me up on stage. It'll confuse everybody, and then we'll get to talk. But I love meeting people who listen to the podcast. It really means a lot to me, man. Marion Flanell, I'm not sure if you're still listening to the show or not, man, but he's the guy that started that. He's our German friend. And by the way, one thing I love about this, is the brilliant people on this show, the brilliant people that listen to this show. There's a lot of people so much smarter than us, but they just like, oh, I find that interesting. Tell me more. And they're like, oh, this is the only thing I'm smart about. So I do want to pull one thing up if I can real quick. It is a review that was written for us. Let's see here. I got a couple of them. I'll tell you what, LP, anything you want to say to the people on the way out?
I just thought it was interesting that we started this episode with two groups arguing about they want to move a body for the tourist trade. And now you're going to appear in Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania.
Also true.
And they couldn't give the body
Who they
away.
moved. Good, a nice deep dive. Loser devotees will get that one here. This is a review I just wanted to read, Coons, because it's important to me, and this is kind of cool here.
Let's hear it.
This was a recommendation for people to listen to American Loser podcast from Heather Poge. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Poje. But Heather wrote, this is pretty great. I'm a mom with mostly grown garbage pail man boys who routinely fight with their mother over control of the listening rights in the car and around the house. My millennial tallest one found this podcast in a rare moment of compromise. I've been hooked ever since. Love the history, love the jokes, love the genuine fun and warmth with KP, his DILF, and the other cast of characters. No New Jersey connection here, but I will say I learned a very important lesson in life. Never fuck with Teddy Roosevelt. So thank you so much for that. You guys all know we try to do shout outs all the time. We're actually growing so much here, man. It means a lot to me. The next week's episode will be Patreon exclusive. Dad, let's give him a teaser real quick. It's a war they've never heard about before.
It's a war you never heard about, fought right here in the United States, because this is, after all, American Loser.
Goddamn right.
It's a religious war.
Yes, this is a war you should know about. You're going to want to know more about. And for as little as $3 a month, okay? Or just $3 that one time. Just do it the one time. Sign up and bail.
Yeah.
I don't care. I just need something to pay the kahuna, all right? But that being said, guys, it means a lot to us. We get to do this show every week. I love hanging out with my dad. I love the friendship, the fact that Kahuna is family to us now. Love the fact that Ming takes great care of us over here at a Shared Universe podcast studio in the Bell Works in Homedale, New Jersey. But I got to go, and that was John Wesley Hardin, American Loser.
All right, we're good.
Dad, who is the biggest loser in American history?
I told you, KP, don't be so hard on yourself. Enjoy some of the wildest chapters
and most glanced over topics here on American Loser.